Broncos country, what is going on? Hope you guys are having a wonderful day, getting settled here in Texas. So you guys will see a better setup coming here soon. But let's go ahead and get into the news we had. The 53 decided, and we'll run through some of the moves, some of the guys who ended up on the practice squad. Let me know, were there some surprise cuts that you were surprised about? Any moves that you would make differently than the coaching staff? Let me know in the comments. But let's go ahead and get started. I guess from an offensive perspective, from an overview, of course, we got through the initial shock of Tim Patrick being released. It was bummed we couldn't work out a trade, but best of luck for him in Detroit. Hope that's a good fit for him. I was shocked to see 4 running backs kept on the roster. Blake Watson made it onto the roster, I think, for his special teams ability, along with Javonte Williams, Audric Estime, Jaleel McLaughlin. And again, I think that one of the reasons you can speculate why he was included on the 53, not only from special teams duties, but because of how high in demand he was as a priority undrafted free agent signing. We did pay him a lot of money, just as much guaranteed money as Audric Estime. So I was surprised to see that, but it is what it is. Happy to see him on the roster. Of course, I'm going to be rooting for everybody that made the Broncos, of course. Now, wide receiver room, only keeping 5 wide receivers: Josh Reynolds, Cortland Sutton, Troy Franklin, Marvin Mims Jr., and Devon Vele. I think all these guys were locks for the 53. Now, I was expecting us to have a 6th wide receiver. I had Lil Jordan Humphrey in there. Of course, he was cut, along with Jalen Virgil, Michael Bandy, and Brandon Johnson. Brandon Johnson was actually picked up by the Steelers for their practice squad, wanted to go to a new change of scenery, as he saw making the 53 could have been difficult here, but we did keep Lil Jordan Humphrey. I think Jalen Virgil moved on, but we still have Michael Bandy on the practice squad. Was surprised to see 4 tight ends kept. But if we were going to cut Michael Burton, which is what we did, Nate Atkins fills in as that fullback. So him, Greg Dulcich, Adam Troutman, and Lucas Kroll filled out the tight end room. Now, we did also sign Donald Parham, formerly of the Chargers, tight end, 6'7", I think, 6'8", huge target, 10 career touchdowns. Thanks for respect my co's for pointing that out. And tremendous addition from the practice squad. I could see us cutting one of these guys, probably most likely. If we are to keep a fullback, it's going to be Lucas Kroll. As much as I love Lucas Kroll and want to see him develop, he can still develop from the practice squad. I think Donald Parham is an instant upgrade in the room. He would be a tremendous red zone target for Bo Nix. I really like that move. And then with the offensive line, some different guys made the roster than I was expecting. Alex Forsyth, he did make it over. Man, why am I blanking on his name right now? From the Ravens. I'll remember that here in just a minute. But we had Forsyth, Luke Wattenberg make it, Alec Pacheski, Mike McGlinchey, Garrett Bowles, Lucas Crum, Ben Powers, Quinn Miners, and Matt Pert. And I think that this is a good group. Of course, a little bit of a surprise to see Frank Crum kept on this roster. Was not expecting that initially, but Sean Payton went on to talk today about how you can't get too many 6'7" tackles out there in free agency. He was another priority signing along with Blake Watson. So that makes sense of why we would keep him. And good to see Alex Forsyth still make the team. Again, we had a lot of competition there at the center position. And yeah, I was a little surprised to see him make it, but nonetheless happy to see him on the roster. I still, even though I was expecting him to start, I think Wattenberg does give you a little bit more power, right? And I think given another year in the program, in the strength training, understanding the team, the playbook, all of that, I think that you could most definitely see him competing for that starting center here, at some point here soon. So that was very interesting with the 53 man roster here on the offensive line. But let's go ahead and move towards the defensive line, shall we? Or the defensive part of the team. Let me find this tab. 5 safeties. I was correct on this, even though it seems like a little bit of a luxury. Brandon Jones, PJ Locke, Devon Key, J.L. Skinner, Keydron Smith. I absolutely love that. Shocked to see that we only kept 4 edges. Jonathan Cooper, Baron Browning, Nick Bonino, and Jonah Ellis. My guy, Dondre Tillman cut. That one hurt. I put out a GIF on Twitter of Star Wars. You were the chosen one. That's how I felt about it. But if we were going to go light at the edge position, I would figure we would keep some corners. So Damari Mathis was short-term IR'd, and so that allowed us to keep basically everybody. Tremont Smith, Pat Surtain, Riley Moss, Jaquan McMillan, Chris Abrams-Drain, and Levi Wallace. Another surprise cut here, but having time to think about it makes total sense. Jonas Griffith was not up to snuff, and Justin Sturdad, I thought, had a strong preseason, along with going back and looking at it. Yeah, Levelle Bailey, tremendous athlete. The 94-yard pick six was something that might have gotten him this roster spot, but they didn't want to see him go out to another team. And I can get behind that because Jonas Griffith is definitely a few years into his NFL career right now. And you were expecting that jump this year, but he didn't make it. He didn't turn that corner. I think you saw Cody Barton establish himself as that starting inside linebacker pretty quickly. And if it wasn't going to happen yet, you have to wonder when it was going to happen. And congratulations to Levelle Bailey and the guy that tuned into my live stream a few days ago and said, "You think Levelle Bailey makes the roster?" I said, I don't think so. He had some up and down moments, but it was very clear with him making the roster that the Broncos love his potential and his raw athleticism. And I should have recognized that more. So hats off to you, whoever you were. Sorry, I'm blanking on your name. And then with the defensive line, we keep all the guys that I was thinking of: DJ Jones, Zach Allen, John Franklin Myers, Awazarike, Roach, and Jordan Jackson, rounding out the defensive line. Absolutely love this two deep. I think that we are so much more improved in the defensive line. Absolutely love that. And then, of course, with the specialists, we got Will Lutz, Riley Dixon, and Mitchell Fabroni, which is our long snapper. And so that rounds out the 53. Again, I'm pretty happy with this. It was good to see some guys included on the practice squad, that like Dondre Tillman, for instance, or Lil Jordan Humphrey, Michael Burton. And remember, I believe the new rules with the practice squad is you can have 2 guys that you elevate to the roster 4 times before you need to sign them to the active 53. And so you might see somebody like Lil Jordan Humphrey or Michael Burton play these first 4 weeks, elevated from the practice squad. Obviously, you'll have some injuries by then, and most likely you can sign them to the 53. I mean, we need a ton of depth, but Mustafa, that's his name, Mustafa. I thought that he was going to make the roster, but he did not. But let's go ahead and take a look at the entire practice squad. I believe I have this here. Let me pull this up. This is from Mile High Report. Of course, the Donald Parham signing is not official yet, so one of these guys will most likely get cut. But we kept a lot of the guys that I did like, that I thought, add something to this team. I thought Calvin Throckmorton was going to be on this team. Initially, did not make it, but signed to the practice squad again. I see these guys being elevated the most: Lil Jordan Humphrey, Michael Burton. Nice to see Tyler Beatty clear waivers. Again, he's in his 3rd year, but if we have an injury at the running back position, I could easily see him being elevated to the active roster full-time. Nick Gargiulo, to be honest, our 7th round pick from South Carolina, and I believe before that it was Yale. He was somebody that I didn't really notice much throughout preseason, I have to be honest. And I think he was signed to be that kind of depth guy. I think he, like most offensive linemen, you need a year or two in the weight room before you're really going to make a difference on an NFL roster, unless you're just one of these elite prospects coming in. Matt Henningsen, this shows you how much our defensive line depth has improved. He was a primary guy for us last year on the team in the interior, and now he's a practice squad guy, which I feel like he's kind of a fringe 53 guy for a normal NFL team. Quentin Newsome, David Sills, these are other guys that I'm high on, as well as Dondre Tillman. I want to see him get his due. I could totally see him being on the team next year. I doubt we keep every single edge that we have in the room right now on the 53. We'll have to see. And then Thomas Ismean, developmental prospect, tight end. I believe he holds like an international spot that every NFL team has for their practice squad. So good to see him there. So Brandon Johnson went to the Steelers. Bummed to see him go, but it is what it is. Y'all let me know your thoughts on the roster moves made. I love the fact that we kept three quarterbacks. I know that's probably a little bit of an unpopular opinion, but I like it for now, and excited to see what Bo Nix does with these weapons. Again, I would expect Lil Jordan Humphrey to be one of those wide receivers that is elevated early on, and we see him in game action. So credit to Sean Payton, George Payton for really taking full advantage of these different rules, trying to keep more of their high upside fringe guys on the roster. Raw athleticism, potential, need coaching. They don't want these guys to be developed by another team, and having more so some of these veteran 53 guys, fringe 53 guys go on the practice squad. We were able to keep most of them. But best of luck again to Tim Patrick. Samaje Perine, man, tough to see you on the Chiefs. Why'd you have to stay in the division, man? And a little bit of a bummer that we didn't get any draft compensation. That was something I was expecting, but with the salary cap savings, I can live with that. So fully embracing the youth movement. Gotta love it. And we're a week and a half out from Seattle. So thank you guys so much. I will be back with another video tomorrow. And as always, y'all, go Broncos.